Albert Fish is one of the most notorious criminals in American history. His name still sends shivers down the spines of those who know his story. Fish was a sadistic serial killer, cannibal, and rapist. He preyed on children during the early 20th century. His crimes were so horrifying that they remain a grim part of criminal law. Fish's life was marked by violence and perversion. He confessed to the murder of several children. His methods of torture were beyond comprehension. Fish did not just kill his victims, he mutilated and consumed them. The details of his crimes are not for the faint-hearted. The media dubbed him the Grey Man and the Werewolf of Wisteria. These names reflected his monstrous nature. Fish's crimes were not just about murder, they were about inflicting the maximum amount of pain and terror. This essay delves into the life and crimes of Albert Fish, exploring how he became one of the most feared individuals in American history. Fish's legacy is a dark stain on the history of criminal activity in the United States. His actions led to significant changes in the way the public and law enforcement viewed child safety. Understanding his background and the full extent of his crimes is crucial for comprehending the depth of his evil. Albert Fish was born on May 19, 1870, in Washington, D.C. His real name was Hamilton Howard Fish. He was born into a family plagued by mental illness. His father was 75 years old at the time of his birth, and his mother was much younger. Early on, Fish experienced severe neglect and trauma. At the age of 5, Fish was sent to an orphanage. This was a turning point in his life. The orphanage was a harsh environment where Fish was physically and emotionally abused. The beatings he received there awakened something dark within him. Instead of fear, Fish began to derive pleasure from pain. As a teenager, Fish started engaging in unusual behaviors. He developed an obsession with self-mutilation. He would embed needles into his body and flog himself with a nail-studded paddle. These acts were just the beginning of his descent into depravity. His early years were a prelude to the monstrous acts he would later commit. Fish's troubled upbringing cannot be solely blamed for his heinous crimes. However, it undoubtedly played a significant role in shaping his grotesque tendencies. The abuse and isolation he faced as a child set the stage for his later acts of extreme violence and cruelty. Albert Fish's criminal activities spanned several decades. He began his career as a house painter, which gave him access to numerous homes and potential victims. Fish's first known crimes were petty, involving theft and minor assaults. However, his dark desires soon escalated. Fish targeted young children, luring them away from their homes with promises of money or treats. Once he had them in his grasp, he subjected them to unspeakable torture. He would mutilate their bodies in ways that are too gruesome to describe in detail. Fish's methods were methodical and sadistic. One of Fish's most chilling confessions involved the murder of a young boy named Billy Gaffney. Fish kidnapped Billy, subjected him to prolonged torture, and eventually killed him. Fish later wrote a detailed letter to Billy's family, describing the horrific acts he had committed. This letter is one of the most disturbing pieces of evidence ever uncovered. Fish's ability to evade capture for so long was partly due to the times. The early 20th century lacked the advanced forensic techniques we have today. Moreover, Fish was cunning and manipulative. He often moved between states, making it difficult for authorities to track him. His reign of terror seemed unstoppable. Section 4. The abduction and murder of Grace Budd. The case of Grace Budd is perhaps the most infamous of all Fish's crimes. In 1928, Fish answered an ad placed by Edward Budd, a young man seeking work. Fish visited the Budd family under the pretense of offering Edward a job. Instead, he set his eyes on Grace, Edward's 10-year-old sister. Fish promised to take Grace to a party, and the Budd family, trusting the elderly man, allowed her to go with him. This was the last time they saw Grace alive. Fish took her to an abandoned house in Wisteria, New York. There, he tortured and killed the little girl in a manner too horrific to detail. He then dismembered her body and consumed parts of it. 6 years later, when Fish sent an anonymous letter to the Budd family, in it he described how he killed Grace and even included morbid details about consuming her flesh. This letter was the key piece of evidence that led to Fish's arrest. The police were able to trace the letter back to Fish, finally bringing him to justice. Grace Budd's tragic death highlighted the monstrous nature of Fish's crimes. It also showed the lengths to which he would go to inflict pain and suffering. The Budd family's heartache and the public outcry were immense, pushing law enforcement to intensify their efforts to capture Fish. Section 5. Capture and Trial. Albert Fish's capture was a result of relentless police work and a bit of luck. After receiving the letter describing Grace Budd's murder, the police traced it to a rented room where Fish was staying. On December 13, 1934, Fish was arrested. He initially denied the charges, but soon confessed in grisly detail. The trial of Albert Fish began in March 1935. It was a media sensation, with newspapers covering every horrifying detail. Fish's defense tried to claim insanity, pointing to his bizarre behavior and mental illness. However, the jury was not convinced. The sheer brutality of his crimes overshadowed any arguments for leniency. During the trial, Fish admitted to killing several other children, although not all of these claims could be verified. His calm demeanor while describing the murders shocked everyone in the courtroom. The trial lasted for 10 days, and it took the jury just a few hours to reach a verdict. Fish was found guilty and sentenced to death. Fish's trial brought to light the dark underbelly of human nature. It also highlighted the need for better mental health care and child protection laws. The horror of his acts left an indelible mark on all who were involved, from the police officers to the jurors and the families of the victims. Section 6. Execution and Societal Impact. Albert Fish was executed on January 16, 1936, in the electric chair at Sing Sing prison. He showed no remorse for his actions, maintaining a calm and composed demeanor until the end. His last words were reportedly, "I don't even know why I'm here." The execution brought a sense of closure to the families of his victims. Fish's death did not erase the horror of his crimes, but it did bring some measure of justice. His execution marked the end of one of the darkest chapters in American criminal history. The case of Albert Fish led to increased awareness and changes in the protection of children as society grappled with the reality of such evil. The legacy of Albert Fish is a grim reminder of the depths of human depravity. His crimes shocked the nation and forced a re-evaluation of how to deal with such heinous acts. The impact of his actions is still felt today as his story continues to be studied by criminologists, psychologists, and the general public. Fish's horrifying crimes serve as a cautionary tale. They highlight the importance of vigilance and the need for robust systems to protect the most vulnerable members of society. While his name may live in infamy, it also serves as a stark reminder of the potential for darkness within the human soul.